Today I worked at Wegmans from noon to 7 p.m. During my shift, in between restocking the banana section of the produce department, I primarily restocked the hard items section of the produce department, which primarily consists of our various potatoes and onions, and throughout my shift, there was a point in which I briefly restocked the mushroom section, briefly because today there wasn't much on the mushroom runner. I recall it was roughly from 4 to 4:30 p.m. I took my 30-minute lunch around 5 p.m., during which I had a pre-made by Wegmans chef salad with a plastic bottle of Poland Springs branded water, a bottle filled with whole milk. As at the time there weren't any of the usual 16-ounce plastic bottles of Upstate Farms branded whole milk. There was one, but it had been left out for an extended period and thus was no good. Then I took my one and only 15-minute break for today. At 6:30 p.m. There were points during my shift in which I briefly restocked bagged apples at one of the fruit sections of the produce department that are towards the front of the department. I recall I restocked plastic bags full of Granny Smith apples. I got a box of that while I was looking for a box of bulk or loose. Granny Smith apples. But I never ended up finding that. I looked for that because at the time we were pretty low on bulk or loose Granny Smith apples. I also restocked from a box full of bagged Empire apples. Another box full of bagged Gala apples and a box full of bagged Fiji apples. At this point, some products that I used to restock pretty much individually at once from their mesh bag of plastic or cardboard box, I now dump onto where it needs to be restocked. I was suggested this by a coworker the other day, and doing this saves a lot of time with minimal impact on the appearance of the restocked merchandise within the produce department. I was woken up at 10 in the morning by an alarm I set on my laptop using a third-party website after falling asleep around 5:30 in the morning at the latest. Around 10:30 in the morning, I had, with a cup of plain coffee, some scrambled eggs, both of which my mom made for me. Immediately after my shift today, my mom took me to the Willow Inn for their karaoke night this week, during which I sang a total of 3 songs after having an order of buffalo pierogies, with some ranch dipping sauce on the side in the same little plastic cup that the blue cheese dipping sauce came in, though I hardly touched the blue cheese dipping sauce while I ended up having pretty much all of the ranch dressing. Dipping sauce. And I had just one alcoholic beverage. In this case, some Kaluga mixed into some orange juice and cranberry juice. The Kaluga didn't pair great with the orange juice and cranberry juice, but it was still enjoyable, that alcoholic beverage. After I finished sipping at that alcoholic beverage, I just had the equivalent of about 3 to 4 plastic glasses of iced water throughout the rest of the karaoke night, during which I sang as part of an effort to sing songs that, while I've sung before in the past, are among the ones I've sung less often historically during karaoke nights. Tonight I sang The Only Exception by Paramore, then What's Up by Four Non-Blondes, and then finally I sang Better Now by Post Malone. I also submitted Wish You Were Here by Incubus, but the karaoke night ended before I got to that song. Before the karaoke host got to me that time. That song, too, I've sung in the past, though not much historically, especially recently. Tonight, me and my mom sat at the bar of the Willow Inn rather than one of the dining room area tables, as we have usually done historically whenever we went to the Willow Inn. Despite not getting much sleep before my shift at Wegmans today, thankfully I didn't nod off or even feel sluggish at any point during either my shift at Wegmans, more importantly, or during the karaoke night at the Willow Inn, less importantly. I recall during the first 2.5 hours of my shift at Wegmans, occasionally sipping at 2 cups of plain coffee from 2 pods of coffee provided by the break room. Those 2 cups of plain coffee being in the same paper cup, and then in that same paper cup I filled it with cooler water and then sipped at that. occasionally while working, since every cart for those who work in the produce department and other departments, these carts being for transporting merchandise from the warehouse for employees only to the respective department the employees work for. Every cart comes with a sort of round depression that's meant to act as a cup holder. It's meant to be for that purpose, holding a paper cup full of either coffee, tea, or water, so that it can be nearby without being near restocked merchandise. I recall during the first few hours of today having some pieces of chocolate that had some crispiness to them in a way. In that way, they were a bit like eating Crunch bars. They were in black wrappings of paper with a layer of tinfoil underneath. And the pieces of chocolate were kind of half dome shape and hexagonal, like one half of a D20, a 20-sided die, only more flat.